And thank you for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning in spite of the fuel scarcity. I'm Alera Edu.
Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome. I don't know why your name, your voice kind of tapered down when you got to the end. Because of the fuel scarcity?
Yes.
Oh.
Challenges that Nigerians face every day. There are so many, and there doesn't seem to be any solution in sight for some of them. And one of them that doesn't seem to we can't find an answer to, is this fuel problem. Coming in this morning, some queues were more than a mile long. And NNPC is not saying anything. Nobody is saying anything. Nobody is giving us a reason, apart from there's likely to be an increase in...
Well, increase in pump price. No, just say it. I mean, pump price, right?
We know now. We know.
You know, it's...
So just get on with it. You know?
Well, for a while, I don't know if this is even a commendable thing. I say that because it probably means that we've only been papering over the cracks. Now the cracks seem to be winning the battle, so to speak. We haven't had, this is November.
Gaping now.
In a few days, it will be December.
Yeah.
We haven't had fuel scarcity in December or towards the end of the year in quite a while.
And that's the wrong time for us to have fuel scarcity.
And, yeah, I mean, you know, remember that for some time, I think before 2015, 2016, thereabout, we had fuel supply challenges every December. Now, thankfully, we can see that that is history. Now, so whatever it is that is making it so that we do not have fuel supply now, we should be asking questions. Is it to say, is it because the government is going out or what? There are so many
But the government is not going out till May.
Well, there will be no other December for this government.
Oh, so this December is their last chance to punish us.
I didn't say that. But,
just asking.
So that's what is it that is making that happen? Government needs to know. I've often said this. The major challenge of any organization is communication or a lack of it. Please, let people know what the issues are. Worst case, I mean, we can't take it. Fine, but at least we will know what the issues are. So let government talk to people. Let people know, okay, this is what is happening. This is what we have to deal with. Already, not around Lagos, people are getting fuel for 230 naira, 250 naira per liter. Take it or leave it. And we understand that in other parts of the country, it could be up to 300. I don't even know if it's not worse than that. So, as you said, let's get on with it. Let's just know.
Look,
let's know
already people can hardly afford to eat because food prices have shot up through the roof. Never mind that it's not even December yet.
Exactly.
So as soon as we get into December, those prices are even going to become steeper.
So, you know, it's important for people to know what is happening. As we speak, just as you said, in virtually every part of Lagos. When this thing started in Lagos, I was scared I was going to come to Lagos. So I was just telling myself, hey, you can't come to Lagos now. Come on, we lift fuel from Lagos to Abuja. And voila.
Yeah, you have spoke the grammar.
Yeah. So
continue to speak the grammar.
I don't understand. I mean, this thing is not supposed to be rocket science, but it seems like we have to do a lot of calculation for some of these things. So,
anyway.
And we even understand that the quote and unquote, should I call them official fuel stations, the NNPC stations, most of them are not opening.
They don't even have supply.
That's the point, because they are not, those fuel stations are not owned by the NNPC. They're just like, you know, it's franchise and all of that. So the people who are going to get the fuel are going to need to make some money. If they can't make some money simply because you are compelling them to lift at certain prices, then we're going to get some insight into that.
Exactly, exactly. Then you mentioned Innocent Motors exporting their vehicles.
I saw that report, and I was very, very, I was very happy.
Your head wanted to burst.
I was very happy. Innocent is a Nigerian car manufacturing, vehicle manufacturing company.
Yes, yes.
And they were making vehicles for guess who? The military in Sierra Leone.
Not the military in Nigeria.
One, not, I mean, you can imagine that military vehicles will be a lot more expensive, have more features, more security features or whatever it is, safety measures and all of that, than ordinary salon cars and all of those things, or SUVs, you name it. But they were making for heavy-duty vehicles for another country's military. Now, what was the basis? The basis of that conversation between the president and between the president of the country Sierra Leone and Nigeria is that they said that this is happening because Nigeria signed the AFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. That was the basis upon which the Sierra Leonean government signed that deal. And it happened because of that one. So that, why take the money out if you can make it here in Nigeria? They signed that. So it just made me ask, that's one question we've been asking. And I think this thing has even been debated on the floor of one of the houses of the National Assembly, whether the Senate or the House of Reps, I'm not sure which. Shouldn't we just buy Nigerian? Government wants us to buy Nigerian products, but you don't want to buy Nigerian vehicles.
Talking about buying Nigerian, I'm sure you heard about the Immortal Rice project.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm thinking, so this rice place in Lagos State is going to produce enough rice to feed us. No, but some are going to say, oh, okay, I only eat basmati rice. Oh, I only eat long grain rice. Oh, I only eat blue rice. I only eat red rice.
It is because you have options.
But the important thing is that this Immortal project is huge and it's integrated.
I sincerely hope that many of us can just come home to these issues. What was the image of Ofada rice in the 90s and the early 2000s?
Stony, smelly.
Now it is
it's a delicacy.
It's the pick of the pack.
Yes, it's a delicacy.
So, I don't know.
Did you see the video of the Nigerian boy on the street of London dragging his suitcase saying, I'm going back home. I'm going back home. Cold won't kill me. There's nothing where they here. We're not there for Bielsa. They go back home. A time will soon come when there'll be more of those things happening, when Nigerians will be finding their way back to this country.
I see it. I believe you with all my heart. And I see it happening. And for those of you who are home, please, just keep it up. I mean, whatever it is that you're doing, just hold on to it. Because those people who are going to come back to you and say, can I rent your apartment? Yes, you pay. You will pay. By that time, the Naira would have greatly appreciated.
Oh, yes.
So whatever it is that you pay will stay in my pocket.
Yes, sir.
In the interest of peace, stability, tranquility, and hegemony.
Quickly before we go to the menu, the campaign season is upon us. And campaign rallies are happening here and there, fast and furious. In fact, there's one in Lagos today.
Oh, by the way, people should be advised where to go, how to walk.
Avoid Surulere Stadium area.
Travel advisory out, so please pay attention to it.
Yes. So this is our chance, people. This is our chance. Let us shine our eyes. Because if you collect 5,000 Naira now, that won't feed you for the next 4 years, you know. Yes, I know that things are hard. Times are very hard. You can hardly eat. But remember, whatever the manifesto that we are given and we fall for, we'll have to live with for 4 years. And don't even remember, most of those manifestos don't even get implemented. They tell us one thing. When they get there, they do something entirely different. So let us be circumspect. Let us think. It is not about 5,000 Naira today. That may feed you today, but what about tomorrow?
No.
What about next month? What about next year?
Let's make it worse. 5,000 Naira, you said for 4 years, right? Each year is made up of 365 days, right? Okay, there will be 1 or 2 366. Okay, there will be 1 366 days in
those 4 years,
okay.
yes.
But let's leave that one as Jara. So 365 days times 4 is 1,460. That's 1,460 days. Please divide 5,000
5,000.
by... I've done the math for you. Divide 5,000 by 1,460. You come up to...
oh dear.
3 naira 42 kobo per day. What?
What can that buy?
Can't even buy itself.
Okay, all right.
3 naira 42 kobo cannot buy itself.
Enough said. Listen to those things and interrogate them and interrogate the persons who are putting themselves forward. Remember, you are the employer. You are the one looking to hire these leaders. Always remember that. You are the boss.
You are the employer. You are
Always.
the employer. They are the ones looking for a job. I don't know where you want to get a job and you are paying the person that wants to give you a job. Please take. I want to give you a job. Take this money so that you can give me the job.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's what we're doing, whether you like it. I mean, just imagine you wanting to get a job and you're paying the person who wants to employ you, like the MD of the company.
He's bribed now.
Please,
he's bribed.
Take this money. Give me the job.
Bribe.
I won't even need to send you out of the office before you get out of my office.
Otherwise known as graft.
I don't know.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Well, of course, as we mentioned, we're starting with the lingering fuel scarcity, especially the one in Lagos. I can't imagine what other parts of the country are going through, but let's start with that. Let's start that conversation where we need to know exactly what is going on and speak around all the issues.
Okay, and then we'll focus on slow growth, and we're talking about economic growth.
The third topic for this morning will be critical. I don't know what that means. It just reminds me of a particular song, but it's a centralized emergency system. Find out when we get to that topic.
Then we'll be talking lifestyle, as is usual on Sunrise these days, and we'll be planning the holiday meal. This is the time where we really pig out, huh?
And I'll put an S behind that meal. I'll put an S behind because it's only one meal.
Only.
Artist of the week is also going to be up. He or a she, you're going to find out, but suffice to say that it's a music maker this morning.
So that's what we're going to be looking at this morning. So get your cocoa or your
Cocoa.
Make yourself comfortable and just stay with us. We'll be right back. So we're going to talk the lingering fuel scarcity, which we just have to talk about after all. Thursday, I think the Friday is 1st of December. Christmas is coming, and people are going to start leaving their places of work, start traveling home to spend the holiday season with family and friends.
Not to talk about the funds places that they will also have to power their equipment, and people have to pay a lot more for those services than they normally do.
Please don't remind us, Ayo. No, over the last 1 week, fuel scarcity was reported in Lagos, in Kaduna, and other cities around the country. Well, that's not to say it has just started. We mentioned this in passing last week, that there was, even though it was not so obvious in Lagos as of last week, but things suddenly took a turn for the worse during the week. And today, coming into the studio, some queues were over a mile long. So what is the reason for this? Has NNPC said anything? Have you heard anything from NNPC?
Well, maybe after the program or during this program.
Anyway, we have somebody who might be able to give us an insight into this. We have Mr. Peter Isele, former president, Trade Union Congress, and former president, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Isele.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, let me be the first to shoot this at you as we begin this conversation right now. I mean, it's first of all, I'm sure you are concerned, and being in the industry, I don't know how you're taking this. We haven't had fuel scarcity towards the end of the year in a while, and it will seem like now this is happening. This is the first time we're having an end of year after the Petroleum Industry Act was signed into law. Is there any correlation?
I don't think there's any correlation with that. But the fact is, we keep going back. You know, insanity is defined as when you keep doing the same thing and you are expecting a different
Mr.
result.
Esele, we do apologize. We must take a break. Sorry, Mr. Esele. We'll come back to you in just a moment, please. Thank you very much. We must take a break.
Well, thank you for staying with us. We just need to resolve a thing or two. So back to you, Mr. Esele. You were trying to, answer that question around, is there a correlation between the fact that the PIA was signed this year and the fuel scarcity we started having at the end of the year? We haven't had an end-of-year fuel scarcity in a very long time.
Yes, there are no correlation. I think what I was saying earlier is that insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So we've been having sporadic fuel scarcity. I think it just got to Lagos. Abuja had it over and over again. I think Abuja is still in it. Other parts of the country. So what the problem we're having now is once you have scarcity as we have it right now, it's not as if there's no product. You just know that there's a disagreement going on between NNPC and the marketers on what they should pay. You are having a cost overrun, so they can sell at 170 or 175. So that itself is what is playing out now.
Okay, so that's on the one hand. How long this will last is another thing altogether, because, well, you very well know a number of things that many of us don't know, about what is happening in the country, especially concerning fuel supply as we speak now. When it started in Abuja, I was a little iffy, and I was hoping it wouldn't come to Lagos. Well, here we are. As Alero mentioned earlier, some fuel queues are a mile long, some longer. So how long, in your opinion, should this last? Who should be talking? Because we aren't hearing anything from anyone at the authority level, whether the downstream regulatory authority, the NNPC, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. No one is talking to Nigerians.
Well, of course, when there are queues in Lagos, Lagos is the economic hub of the country. Suddenly, everybody is alive to something is going wrong. It has been happening in every other parts of the country. So what you have now is, I can't tell you how long it's going to last. They are not talking. The reason why they are not talking is we have to define subsidy. Can they continue with the subsidy? That is an issue. How many percent of the subsidy? That's another issue they had to confront. And how much are we going to agree for the marketers to sell the product at the pump price? And then if without subsidies, about 450 naira that a liter of petrol should go for. So you see, government right now is between the rock and the hard place, thinking of, okay, how do we also get the message across to Nigerians? I think it has to do with policy. What's government policy in the oil and gas in the short term? Because I heard the Minister of Finance in our budget presentation to the National Assembly saying subsidy will go in June. And in June, she's no longer the Minister of Finance. So in June, we're going to have a new president. In June, we are going to have a new Minister of Finance. And in June, we are expected to also have a new economic policy. So what would this government do between now and May 29th in trying to deal with the issue of fuel scarcity? Right now, I think the government is still trying to tie their heads around what they have to do. But again, one of the reasons why you are elected is to make tough decisions. That's the reason why you are elected, is make tough decisions, make decisions that will be beneficial to your country in the short term, medium term, and long term, irrespective of how unpleasant it's going to be. But what Nigeria need right now is that this government need to make a decision on what they will do in the interim between now and May 29th in the oil and gas. and to address the fuel scarcity issue.
So the minister just passed the buck. Right. Okay, we might be able to get some insight from Mr. Emmanuel Iningba, who is National Chief of Staff, Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Iningba.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So Mr. Esala has told us that there is a disagreement between NNPC and the marketers. And you are, I mean, you know about the retail outlets. Because, yes.
Okay, good morning once again.
Good. So what exactly is the position?
Issues on ground is not really about NNPC disagreeing with marketers as in respect to price change or price increase. The truth has to be told. There's this transition going on in former PPMC. PPMC is no longer PPMC. What you have now is NNPC retail, which is for filling station owners and retailers as well. And then we now have NNPC trading, which is for trucking, which is for vessel, tank farms, and others. Now, what is actually playing out, what we're really talking about is supply and distribution. And when we cut across the country, we need to look at the eastern side, western side, midwestern, north, and as the case may be. Now, NNPC, based on these changes that is coming up, it's not being made public for Nigerians to know what is actually playing out. A situation where product that is meant to be distributed, and up to this time, 1 or 2 persons in NNPC, in PPMC, former PPMC, they are still there, and transition is already ongoing, and yet they are yet to transmit powers to the next person. Because what we're seeing is movement of PPMC, both whatever product sharing, and then distribution from them to NNPC retail. So this is, once there's a gap, like I asked the other time when I went to them, I said, we can't continue to have this vacuum. Work must be in progress. Hence, without this, you start seeing scarcity playing out. When you talk about subsidy, government has already given a timeline. It cannot be this Yuletide season. You now start seeing all this happening. I think somebody needs to speak up, even from the corporation, NNPC corporation.
Understand sincerely exactly what the issues are that you have mentioned. I mean, you've made it clear there's a transition ongoing, and it will seem like the transition is getting in the way of some processes, some arrangements, some agreements here and there. So how is this transition affecting the prices of petroleum products?
As far as I know to this day, ex-NNPC price for PMS is 148. Maybe 117 kobo, as you mentioned, maybe. But when you talk about this transition, we need to look at the staffs in former PPMC per se that have been divided. You go to retail, you go to trading. Trading is shipping, retail is downstream, trucking. What have they really done? Are they really looking at, in fact, because right now, to them, maybe they don't understand what Nigerians are facing. What we're saying is, as I speak with you, we're on project pace, tax and target. They know about these things. That once there's a break in the line of transmission from the vessels that they load or that they import and then bring to the terminals, when I say the terminals, they have their own private depots. Of course, the refineries are not working. And so when you bring in products, there's meant to be, you move these things to tank farms, and then you now program marketers. Marketers, you program them. Now they came up with a portal called the Customer Express Portal. It is for every marketer, every retailer. Once you are licensed with them to do business, they make sure you are on board. And from time to time, you apply for allocation of products. There's no need you meeting a staff or meeting somebody to say, please give me products. No. Once you're on that platform, they look at it and they see it on their system or whatever. From there, they just allocate you. It is not for you to go and meet them. You just go to go to a designated this thing, tank farm or this thing outlet. Then you pick your product from there. But this is not happening right now as I speak to you. Marketers are not even allocated products. We don't even know how to manage anymore. It's confusing and it's troubling. And that's why I say PPMC, per se, former PPMC, whatever that is holding this transition to take place 100%, it should be done. The Yuletide seasons are just by the corner. And before you know it, this whole scarcity thing may last longer than necessary.
Mr. Enigba, so where are the marketers getting their product from now? And how are they getting that product?
Market. Yes, that's a good question. The few ones we have, the few ones we see, either they get from tank farm owners or the little that has been allocated to them by PPMC. Now, even when you look at it, on was it 2 days ago, I was with the manager sales, PPMC. He said there's an embargo on it. I'm saying word for word what he told me. He said there's an embargo on it, not to allocate products to marketers. And I was like, I really don't get you. The statements you make, for instance, my brother, stations must sell. Business must move on. There must be trucking from point A to point B in respect to supply and distribution. And here you are telling me that there's an embargo. I mean, it's better imagined than said.
What is the reason that he gave for the embargo? And why were you guys not informed?
Exactly. Thank you very much. There was no reason whatsoever. Only for me to meet with him. And he said this, and I have to transmit it back to my superiors. Mind you, here that I am, so many, reports come from nationwide, the entire country, from my people. Oh, we don't have products, or we don't know what's happening, we have applied, they have not allocated. How I wish I am with my phone. I would have always showed you what is actually playing out. You will see where we have applied. You will see where there's need for them to now allocate. And then you will know that, look, at this point in time, product has gotten to you. So go and pay and load.
Okay.
People have applied. So many marketers, thousands of marketers, retailers, they have applied. No products, no allocation whatsoever. We don't know what we're doing anymore. We're as confused as anything.
Yes. Well, Mr. Sele, I don't know what you make of this because what he's saying seems to be validated by a previous conversation in the course of the week with the Deputy National President of IPMAN, Zarama Mustafa, who made it known that there was a delay last week in the discharge of petrol from the mother vessel to depots because of some challenges between private depot owners and the NNPC, which is the main supplier. So add that to the revelations coming from Mr. Enigba now. What do you make of all of these?
Now, when you look at the tank farm owners, what you have is moving. Let me use the word that we use. This is that you have a product in a vessel. So the tank farm owners will also go ahead to get a daughter vessel. That's the word. Which invariably means the smaller vessel to get the product to their tank farm. Now, the first challenges they are facing is that the price or the cost of hiring a daughter vessel increased by over 100%. And that payment is done in dollars. And you and I know that in sourcing the dollars, they had to use the black market because their business need to go on. So because their business need to go on, and we have, I think in the last 2 weeks, because of CBN, when CBN came up with redesigning the Naira, you have the Naira and you have the dollar and Naira dancing yo-yo, and then going as far as 900. And you also have some of these tank farm owners who went ahead to buy dollar at such an exorbitant rate. And then getting that product Now they're asking themselves, we get the product with what we have expended in the cost of hiring a daughter vessel. So what do we now expect them to do? Are they going to suffer a loss? So that is where, when you talk about retail, the product needs to be available before it gets to retail. So the main bulk of where these challenges are is that those tank farm owners who are spending so much to get the product are saying we cannot sell at this price that NNPC is asking us to sell because we have cost overrun. So when that happens, that is where I think the bulk of the challenges are right now. Because the man who is retailing.
Yes. Please land on that, Mr. Sele.
Because the man who is retailing, if that agreement has been reached, an NNPC between NNPC and the tank farm owners, and they then agreed on a new pricing, then it can also not get to retail. You are going to have these delays. The delay is talking about, of course, I know that is playing out in the system right now, but you will have those delays until, because it's a chain. So the retailers are even at the bottom of the chain before it gets to you and I, who are the consumers. So if those are the top of the chain, have not got it on agreement, so you are going to have a delay for the product to get to retail.
Well, Mr. Sele, you know, in all of this conversation that you and Mr. Enimba have been having with us, I've not heard any of you mention the midstream and downstream regulatory, petroleum regulatory authority in all of this. Is that absolving the authority, or exactly what do you make of that?
No, we are not observing the authority. I don't think either of us is observing the authority. It just shows that they're not relevant in the scheme of things. Whoa. Because if they're relevant in the scheme, yes, I mean, if they're relevant in the scheme of things, they should be talking to you. They should be addressing the. Because right now, what you have is that we think. The way I try to fathom how we look at the economy is that we think in terms of naira and kobo. Economy is beyond thinking in terms of naira and kobo. It's a whole chain. It's composite. Because now, before you go to the office, she are just talking about 1 mile of queues of car. That in itself, it creates a psychological stress to you mentally. And then there's somebody who is supposed to be somewhere at 8 o'clock. The person can't get there until 10 o'clock. Productivity suffers. The person's head also suffers. And when your head suffers from when you have all of this change, then your economy will be going down. So when we talk in terms of naira and kobo, you notice, my last training was HSC. You have to look at the whole totality to say, okay, this is how your economy moves. So these two regulatory authorities that you are talking about, I don't really know which role they are playing, because if they have any serious role to play, they should be talking to Nigeria. They are the regulators. It's not NNPC. Ordinarily, NNPC is supposed to report to the regulators. The regulators are supposed to put NNPC's feet by the fire. But they are not doing anything like that. So you notice that all our attention now goes to NNPC. So what are the regulators doing? How are the regulators holding NNPC to be accountable? How are the regulators telling NNPC to come forward to explain to Nigerians what these problems are? We are supposed to know this. I'm not just coming here to tell you. It's something that is bubbling, and those tank farm owners are not happy themselves. Nobody runs business to run at a loss.
I hear you, Mr. Sele. It's not a matter of naira and kobo, essentially, but at the end of the day, it is a matter of naira and kobo, you know, because we're told that NNPC depots sell petrol at 148 naira approximately per litre, but the private depot owners sell to Ipman at between 195 and 210 per litre.
Exactly.
Private depot owners are therefore complaining about the cost of transportation from the mother vessel to their private depots. So whether you like it or not, Mr. Esele, it still boils down to naira and kobo. Mr. Enimba, please explain to us why the thing has gone up from 148 to 210.
Actually, what is happening is when demand is higher than supply, that's what you get. Now, when you look at it, you know, it still boils down to this same thing that I'm saying. Let me also help my colleague on the other end that NNPC, PPMC per se that we used to, they have their own special depots or private depots they send products to for marketers and retailers to go there and pick and buy still at that 148.7 kobo or 0.17 kobo as the case may be. If not, the whole thing's happening right now as I speak to you. We are not seeing products. We're not being allocated products. So we can go and pick directly via trucking and take to our stations and then discharge and dispense to the public. This is what the issue is all about. The transitioning they are talking about right now, you can remember that some few months ago, NNPC bought over OVH, which is, I think, an arm of Owando, part of Owando, which has to do with their filling stations and all whatnot. You know, we looked at it and we said, oh, probably this is an added advantage to us. But, you know, with what is happening, we're so confused because we're like, okay, what is happening? NNPC, open up and tell us what is actually playing out. Let the public get to know. Let everybody get to know. If you have these products, let us know. If government wants to change price of petroleum products as well, let the public know. But I strongly do believe that in them and within them, they know too well. One, elections is just by the corner. Two, this is a Yuletide season. So they also have to be careful. What you're saying is just a technical outplay. The more you look, the less you see. So, I mean, this is what is happening.
Exactly now, Mr. Enigba, where do we find the retailers in all of this situation? What is, because the information we have is that at some level or at some point, one way or the other, government is trying to intervene. So from what you see, from what you know, I was hoping that I would get a little bit of good news from Mr. Esele, but lo and behold, he said he's not sure for how long this will last. From your own standpoint, what are the likely solutions or interventions that need to come to play so that people can have a Merry Christmas indeed?
I think NNPC, they know what to do. The answers lies between them, bringing every stakeholder on board on how to solve this issue of scarcity, or supposed scarcity. Because when you look at it, it's shown where you say, oh, and that is where the NMDPRA comes in, as in monitoring of products nationwide as well. Now you have a depot or you have a tank farm, and it's been allocated products to marketers to go and load. When you go there to load, once you load out, they have their daily this thing. You follow up where the product has been taken to, and then they send their monitoring team, the units, to go and verify, check whether this product was actually taken to their stations to sell. And that is just the answer to it. And then NNPC should not just see itself as in you can do it alone. Without the marketers, there's no way you can go into, there's no way they can achieve the desired result. But when you now see marketers as in maybe there are some kind of pests or somebody coming to disturb you when you want to take decisions or do business, and then you just believe nobody can come and tell you, just take the decisions. Let them get to know that this is a stakeholder's business. It is for the country, not for one man, not for one institution or authority. That's just the solution to it. But everybody should get involved. Everybody should be carried along.
Well, Mr. Enigba, so help us understand what the flow is supposed to be, and I'm sure that Mr. Esele would also want to speak to that. What exactly is supposed to be the role of the NMDPRA in this entire value chain? It's supposed to be Petroleum Regulatory Authority. That in my ears sounds like they need to play a role in ensuring how the entire chain flows. But you have mentioned the NNPC a lot more, and private tank farm owners and private, depot owners more times than you have mentioned the NMDPRA. So is that to say that, as Mr. Esele said, the NMDPRA is irrelevant in the chain, or they are not just living up to expectation?
I would say they are very much relevant when it comes to product supply and distribution, and also making sure that there's no there's no diversion whatsoever by marketers or from wherever, because NNPC works hand in hand with the NMDPRA. Now, product gets to NNPC, NNPC are to load marketers, marketers are to take to their stations. Now, the role of NMDPRA is to come in and say, okay, you have loaded to these stations, nationwide, and they go and visit these stations to verify if actually this product was taken to these stations. And when that is not done, they have every right to sanction. They have every right to report back to
just 1 second. Just 1 second. Just one second. Mr. Enigba, just 1 second. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Is the NMDPRA empowered to regulate prices?
At some point, yes. Yes.
So what's the minimum price? What's the minimum price they're supposed to regulate to now, knowing all of this information that you have given us?
Well, some might pretend not to know. That's why nobody has come out to speak. So giving us price, I don't understand when you say giving us price. Giving us price, is it when we get from NNPC at 148.17 and then we buy from the private tank farms at over 195, some 200, some 210? Marketers will give what they have. They cannot give what they don't have.
Essentially, what you're saying is it's not that the product are not. You've raised two issues. Number one is the fact that you're not even assigned to go and load up, as if I'm quoting you right. And the second question is the second point you've made is that the prices that you are even getting it from source is already above the 165 that is supposed to be the regulated price. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, from NNPC, there's been no price change. NNPC still at 148, which is within tolerance limit for marketers as well. But a situation where you now go to tank farms and PDOs and get it at 198 to 200 to 210, I mean, it's worrisome.
Who regulates these private depot owners and tank farms?
NMDPRA as well.
Let me ask Mr. Esele.
NMDPRA as well.
Okay.
To say they're meant to do more.
All right. Mr. Esele, now it's like the cat is out of the bag, and whatever it is that Nigerians didn't understand, you knew before now, so there is no point papering over cracks. So help us now, if there is going to be a solution, what must happen? Because right now it is clear the fault technically is not from the NNPC, it is from the people, the other depots, the private depot owners that the NNPC dispenses to, who are not releasing fuel, so to speak, to those who are supposed to load up. You said earlier that the chain is a very complex one. Yes. Help us understand what the responsibilities of the NNPC, IPMAN, MOMAN, the tank farm owners that you talked about, and Petroan. What are their specific responsibilities, and at this point, who is dropping the ball?
Now, NNPC is also a player because NNPC is also part of the downstream. But NNPC is the only importer right now of products into the country. So when you get that product into the country, then the tank farm owners will now be the one to go ahead and get the product, which is using the daughter vessel, just like I've earlier said. Now, in this chain, then you now have the retailers call me, you have MoMA, they are all marketers, just that they are answering different names. If you say IPMAN, independent petroleum marketers, they also have their own retail outlets, but they all just answer different names. But where you have issues right now is between the depot owners and NNPC, which has to do with how much are we going to release those products to retailers. And that's where you're having retailers saying that they are getting the product at 200 naira or 210 naira because the depot owners are saying that we've used dollars. Nobody give you a vessel in naira. And if they're going to give you a vessel in naira, they're going to do the conversion, and the conversion rate is done in accordance with the parallel market, because they can't source that dollar from CBN in 24 to 48 hours. So that is where the challenge is. And then you talk about the regulators. the NMIDRO, which is also another change of name, used to be Petroleum Pricing Products Regulating Authority. They have the responsibility to fix the price. They are the ones that call the stakeholders together and look at, okay, now you depot owners, this is your complaint. NMPC, this is your complaint. Retail outlet, this is your complaint. Okay, they will all now sit down, negotiate, and agree on a common price. Earlier on, I said, I don't know when this strike is going to be over, but I don't know when this scarcity is going to be over. But I will tell you that before Christmas, of course, NNPC will find a way around it. Government will find a way around all of this. But the underlying fact is that get ready for price increase. So this is where it's dovetailing to. And then earlier on, I made reference to Naira and Kobo. Why I said that, yes, Naira and Kobo is important, but a serious society is not built on the tangible. It is built on the intangible. Today we are seeing scarcity, but the intangible is what is playing out between NNPC and the depot owners, which we are not seeing. So all attention should be on the intangible. Once you sort out the intangible, your productivity, your mental health, everything will take care of itself. That's what I meant by not putting attention on Naira and Kobo.
Okay.
But we must all be prepared that this is also another push towards a fuel price hike.
Okay. Mr. Sele, you have given us a heads up. We should get ready for a price increase. Fine. So what kind of price increase should we gear ourselves up to?
Now, what I expect of the government, it has to be a government policy. Now, when I use the word government policy, is what is this administration ready to do between now and June? That's one. Then number two, don't also forget that this administration also have election for next year. The party in power also want to retain power next year. So they have to walk the fine line. If what I've always advocated, even on this program, is that, yes, we can stagger what we want. This is what government wants to achieve. You stagger it. Now, why I said we are going to continue, we may continually have this problem throughout next year too. We're having what I call ghost scarcity. Ghost scarcity, by ghost scarcity, I mean, you wake up in the morning, you are going to work, there are no fuel queues, and then suddenly you are going back home and you see queues everywhere. Then 2 days later, there are no fuel queues. So we may be having all of that until we have a policy, because what I'm expecting the four presidential aspirants to do now, who wants to be president of Nigeria, I want to hear a direct statement. Are you taking off subsidy or not? And then what that means is that Nigerians will vote on that. If a president says, I'm going to take off subsidy, a party says, I'm taking off subsidy, and the party wins. So what now happens is that the party has what I call political capital to say, this is the platform I was elected for. Therefore, this is what I'm going to do. And the money that may accrue from subsidy, this is what I'm going to do.
So, Mr. Esele, just a second to just punctuate you. So, if a presidential candidate says he's going to remove fuel scarcity, all of them have said the same thing, by the way. I'm just afraid what Labour will do eventually.
Now, let me tell you something. Okay, now this administration, 7 years in this administration, how many fuel price increases have you had, and what has Labour done? So it's a matter of also engaging Labour. I heard what the Chief of Staff said earlier. He said, stakeholders, you engage. Everybody looked at the way the country is right now. Too much debt. We have a lot of debt right now we need to deal with. How much are we spending on the subsidy? First of all, let's define what are we spending, how much are we spending on subsidy annually? I'm not talking about somebody wakes up and he tells you that we are spending 2 trillion or we are spending 3 trillion. Let there be figures, verifiable figures, transparent figures. How many liters of petrol are we consuming a day? Because NNPC initially said they brought in 98 million. Customs said no, that is 68 million. You already have a differential of 30 million between two government agencies saying no, they are not even in agreement. So we need to identify that. Once you identify that, let me tell you, Nigerians are one of the easiest people to lead in the world. All Nigerians need is not, if you want them to tighten their belt, you too tighten your own. Nigerians will take you telling them to tighten their belt while yours is loose. Those are the fundamental why Nigerians always complain.
Mr. Sele, we need to hasten things up a bit. You spoke about fuel subsidy and governments telling us about the campaign things being, they're going to remove fuel subsidy. If you think back, the last 2 times that fuel prices were increased, we were told that there was partial removal of subsidy, which expression none of us seems to understand to this day.
Now, when that still comes down to policy. You see, if a government has a policy, if I'm telling you I'm taking away subsidy, you know you are taking away subsidy. There's no subsidy in petroleum products in Ghana. There's no subsidy. So you just know you are taking away subsidy, and then you prepare the people for it, and then you also tell the people what you want to do with the money. So when you don't have policy, when you have policy inconsistency, what you have is that you flip-flop. That is what we've been having, even from administration of President Jonathan about subsidy or no subsidy. There are policy inconsistency that is making it difficult.
Even concerning that you just mentioned now, if you can just speak to this very quickly in 10 seconds, Mr. Esele, before I go back to Mr. Enimba. Do you see a situation where importation of crude is also decentralized from just NNPC? Will that help?
Yes. Yes, it will help. And it's going to happen. Worst case scenario, it will happen in 2024.
Okay. Well, Mr. Enimba, we're wrapping up now. What must happen now if people are going to have fuel supply in their various tanks?
Clarify it very well for us to understand. When you talk about subsidy, did they NNPC stops, or do you see other partners or stakeholders, imports, products, know that NNPC has stopped subsidy? As I speak with you, that is why we have subsidy put in the budget and everything, and you see money, billions, trillions being talked about in respect to subsidy. Now, as it stands now, there's no whatever that has to do with product not being around. Every parameter whatsoever has been taken care of by the government and also NNPC. Now, our own part is, like I earlier said, we need to work together as a team. Get the stakeholders involved. If the products are by the shores of Nigeria, and then maybe you need to bring them in to the tank farms. NNPC have their own special tank farms or PDOs where they push products to for marketers and retailers to buy at government approved price, which is this 148. And that is why I say, when you go to that portal, you see that you're being allocated or not. But lately, we don't see such. All in the name of that, they are transiting. For how long? Like I earlier said, there must not be a gap when it comes to this distribution chain. Once there's a gap, the circle becomes a vicious circle. So
well,
we don't need all this now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Enimba. We've run completely out of time. Mr. Emmanuel Enimba, National Chief of Staff, Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. And we also had Mr. Peter Esele, former president, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, who has given us a heads up to prepare our minds for fuel increase. Another increase is coming. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you with our next topic in just a moment.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for remaining with us on the program this morning. Let's focus on slow growth. The GDP fell quarter on quarter by 1.78 percentage points to 2.25% in the third quarter of this year from 3.54% recorded in quarter two. What does this mean? Because this information was disclosed on Thursday by the NBS, citing the base effects of the recession and the challenging economic conditions that have impeded productive activities as reasons for the deceleration in growth rate. Let's make some sense of these with Boniface Chizia as well as Oladotun Mabinori, both of them economists. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Let me begin with you, Mr. Chizia.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Help us make sense of those figures, those revelations, and the implications of it.
Well, I think the implications is that we don't have, what that tells you is the extent of growth in the economy. And so it says growth is not what it should be. So it has also implications. And in fact, it's aligned with the fact that NBS does release a figure to tell us that 130 million Nigerians live in poverty. So that's what it says. Because what normally would happen is that the growth rate and population growth rate, your growth rate in your economy should be greater than the population growth rate if you must have development. Quality of life is sustained and so on and so forth. Now, where you have your growth rate is probably at par or below as it is today. Now, what that says is that the poverty in the land is writ large. So I think that's exactly what it is. So there's poverty, there's hardship, we all feel it, we all know it. You know, you just talked about crisis, a crisis everywhere. You know, I just tried to employ some people, and I could see the poverty. Yes, people are rushing to be a driver. Somebody comes to you for interview, and he's going back, doesn't have money to pay for his transport. So I think that we need to be very careful. Poverty is terrible, and we need to be very careful. But to be careful with the election 2023 because we must get it right. If we don't get it right, we are headed for perdition.
Well, let me ask Mr. Mabinori the same question of the implication of these numbers. Is this something we saw coming, or is something that just happened on us?
Good morning, Mr. Makinde, and then great to be here once again. It's not born out of, it's not a surprise to we, the economists, really, because something that has been predicted before now. We are entering electionary period where there will be a whole lot of unproductive, there will be a whole lot of funds in the economy not chasing productive activities. So that will surely fuel inflation, and by implication, that will also lead to what we have right now. And the issue of oil theft has also contributed largely to what we have right now. Thank God for other sectors of the economy that are very, very resilient to economic downturn. Sectors like agriculture, like ICT and the likes. So if not for those ones, the challenge that we had in our oil sector would have actually made this our current GDP to worsen than this. So these are things that have been predicted. These are things that we have seen coming, but the government has not done enough to avert it or to prevent it from happening.
So essentially, you're saying that it's something that we could have prevented. We could have, it's avoidable. What could we have done that we left undone?
For instance, the CBN continuing to tighten most of their monetary policies by doing what they call contractionary monetary policies. Embarking on this means you are killing manufacturing sectors in the economy, manufacturing sector in the economy. And as you can see, the manufacturing sector declined compared to what we had quarter on quarter. But if you compare whether quarter on quarter or year on year, the manufacturing sector declined greatly. And these are job elastic sector. These are sectors creating jobs for millions of Nigerians. So a case where the basis, the MPR, that's monetary policy rate, was increased from 11% to 11.5% to 15.5%. And just 2 days ago, CBN governor again still announced an increase from 15.5% to 16.5%. So these are contractionary monetary policies that will make the economy to contract the more. So we find CBN is trying to rein in on inflation, but the type of inflation we have is not what we call monetary inflation. It is fiscal inflation. It's not money-induced inflation. That is not a demand pull inflation. It's cost-push inflation. So the more the CBN continue to tighten the monetary policies, the more we are having the manufacturing sector and the agricultural sector and some other sectors that are largely dependent on monetary policy to be contrasting. And when they are contrasting, will surely have the effect on GDP as we have it right now. So what we see right now is predictable and is also avoidable.
Mr. Chizie, would you please kindly connect the 3 dots you mentioned earlier for us again? You mentioned population growth, you mentioned growth rate, and you also mentioned poverty rate. Can you please connect those 3 dots for us again?
Well, I think that the first thing to say is that it's not a tap. You know, what's happening now is not a tap. It's not something that you just turn on the tap, and then the thing is that you have a solution. You're talking about growth in the economy. And growing the economy is the totality of the goods and services you have within your economy. And so there are many things that are wrong within the system, which you cannot correct overnight. And essentially, if you also factor in what's happening in the environment, you factor in the Russian-Ukraine war and so on that has, caused a spike in inflation across most economies in the world. You bring that in, you bring in COVID and so on. And, we were just trying to get out of that COVID recession, lockdown that was caused by COVID. So when I listen to comments, it's not something that you could just happen. You have to get your acts together, doing the right thing before you can have growth. So even when the gentleman talks about interest rates and so on and so forth, the central bank would have to fight inflation. And one of the things that causes, that undermines well-being in an economy, in the country, is inflation. Even when you want to buy gas, and gas is going from 3,000 to 11,000 naira, and you can't. Diesel is not even there; it's not available. When you're talking about other services, we have. They are beyond reach. Then, of course, most are hardship because people don't have the money. They don't have some. Even if you have your income is not elastic enough, to accommodate those increases. So I think that's the problem. So like I said earlier on, the Bureau of Statistics tells us you have 130 million people living in poverty. So I think those are some of the challenges. We have to get our acts together. There's many things we are doing that is not correct, and it's been there for a long time. It's not something that just happened yesterday. Then you say, look, let's do this or do that, and let's correct it. Even if you take the exchange rate, for instance, which people are talking about.
Well, Mr. Chizie, you heard Mr. Amabinori, your co-panelist this morning, talking about the role the CBN has been playing in all of these. But then there are those who also point to the fact that one of the major reasons for these issues, this unstable economic terrain, so to speak, is because Nigeria does not produce. Nigeria is not a producing, but a consuming country. Is that anything significantly to do with it?
Well, we've been one of the problems we've had. If you listen to those who are campaigning for our votes, some are promising us that really we must begin to produce, and this is very important. If you don't produce, you have issues. You take, for instance, agriculture, social agriculture. Look at the insurrection in the land. It's been there for a long time, and it's not getting better. Now, people are not going to the farms. They can't plant when they're supposed to plant. They can't harvest, and then so there'll be no magic about it. And so when you don't have produce, when you're supposed to have them, and there's scarcity, now prices will go high. So there are some issues, so you need to address insecurity. It's important. You have to, recently we had flooding. Flooding also will undermine the agricultural value chain. So I think those are some of the challenges. We need to get them addressed. And that's why I just did a post. I did say in that post that we must get, February is not too far, we must get the election correct. Otherwise, we'll all be in a deep hole.
Well, Mr. Amabinori, you mentioned some sectors the other time that are helping to get things better. That they are the sectors that seem to have kind of helped to mitigate the seriousness of the effects of the figures that the MBS has released. Could they have done better? I ask that because there are those who operate in several of these sectors, and one of the major challenges they talk about is the regulations in the sectors, in the ICT regulation, agriculture regulation, real estate regulation, and all of those things, that the authorities seem to make the business environment a little coarse for them, not very, very easy for people to do business. Is that of any significance in the challenges we have economically?
Definitely, the policies. So there are some policies that are actually favorable. That is, they have assisted positively to this current growth that we've had, and there are some that are very very inimical, that are negative to the growth that we should have had in the sector. Let's take for instance the ICT sector, which contributed 15.35% to GDP, even above other sector that we are actually looking at, and that we are expecting to do better. So these are sectors that should be highly regulated, and at the same time, while we're regulating them, we shouldn't choke, or we shouldn't stifle. Choke the drivers of the sector to death, because there's a sector that is job elastic. One particular about the sector is that we have sectors in the economy that are job elastic, unlike unlike oil and gas. Oil and gas is a sector in the economy that is driven majorly by equipment. You have very few people employed. Even if the sector grows, the oil sector grows by 10%, you will realize that might not contribute, or it might not translate to 10% increase in employment. It could be as a result of introduction of a new capital-intensive way of getting things done. But if we look at sectors like ICT, a growth in ICT sector means growth in many other areas of the economy, because if you get broadband, for instance, accurately, very well, or in case where we have the data consumption, that is our mobile data, in terms of what we pay per day, reducing, because there are so many sectors, there are so many small businesses and even large businesses that depend largely on data. So in case where that sector, for instance, gets it right, it will have what they call ripple effect or cascade effect on other sectors of the economy, especially the SMEs. And we know that SMEs is the engine room of any economic growth. So by the time the ICT is gotten well, and then it has a ripple effect on the economy will surely will increase. So that's what we're talking about, the non-oil sector of the economy, that government should pay attention to them and reduce the energy and the effect that the energy they are putting on the oil sector. For instance, the oil sector contributes less than 7% to the current GDP. The case where we have the non-oil sector to contribute about 94.34% to GDP. Then the oil sector, that means you should pay more attention to where the majority is, which is the non-oil. And among this non-oil, ICT has actually done wonderfully well. Then government should pay attention on ICT, pay attention to transport, pay attention to manufacturing.
Well, you're correct to say, I mean, the oil sector, contributes not so much to the GDP, but you also agree with me that the oil sector is a major foreign exchange earner for the country, and that is quite significant, isn't it?
It is significant in terms of revenue, but revenue, we have all seen what is happening. Where has revenue taken us to? So revenue is not, fine, we need revenue. But if you pay attention to other sectors of the economy, we even generate more than this revenue.
But that's not to say that government doesn't pay attention to these sectors that you're talking about. They are perhaps the most taxed. There's a lot of, you know better, so many taxes are in those sectors. So yes, government is paying attention to them. That's why they are so heavily taxed.
I get exactly what you are saying, exactly. But we are talking about employment, because when people are not employed, even when we are growing, if government pays attention on oil sector, leaving other sector, we have, even if we are growing as in terms of GDP, that will lead to what they call jobless growth. You realize that people are leaving their job and the economy is growing. That's called jobless growth in economics. And we don't need that at this point. So what we need, as you are tackling the oil and gas sector, as you are trying to make revenue from oil and gas, then don't let us kill other sectors of the economy, so that we not have what they call the Dutch disease. But what we have been battling with since oil was discovered in Nigeria in commercial quantity is what we call the Dutch disease, or the abundance curse. A case where you discover a natural resource in abundance, in large quantity, then you concentrate on it and leave other sector of the economy. That was a time in this country that the agricultural sector was the largest earner of foreign exchange in this country. It was the largest employer of labor. So what happened? What did we get wrong? There was a time the manufacturing sector of this economy was doing fantastically well. So why can't we go back to those areas? Why can't we revamp our agricultural sector and then the manufacturing sector, so that the over dependence on oil will reduce? These are sectors that can not only generate employment, but can also generate so-called revenue we are looking at in terms of oil. Fine, oil has been giving us revenue. It has been the largest, about 80% of our source of forex, and about 60% of our revenue in terms of in terms of total revenue that we have generated. But if you look at it in terms of in terms of employment, it has not done well. It will not do well compared to other sectors of the economy that are job elastic, and that is my point, sir.
Mr. Chizie, let me take you back to a question that Ayo asked earlier about production. Nigeria being a consuming country and not producing anything, and yet we have so many young people who are out of work. It makes me think about China. Almost every part of the world now produces almost everything from China. And the reason they put forward for that is that there is cheap labor in China. What is militating against Nigeria that has this, well, I wouldn't describe it as cheap, but at least it has this labor lurking around, doing nothing, which can be tapped by Nigerians as well as other nations to grow our economy?
Well, I think that the labor in Nigeria is not that too high relatively. I think that is what is important is that what values do our workers bring to the table. I think that's what is important. But what makes us not to be productive? It's a multiplicity of factors. So you have issues like the environment itself. You have infrastructure. I just talked about power supply. You have fuel and so on. You have insecurity. And so when you have all this, then you're not being productive. So and then you have a mentality, that just you want to consume what you don't produce and vice versa. So I think that those are the challenges. We need to reorientate our mindset. To make us again to begin to think production. And we have to get back to something like the revenue allocation formula. It's all mismanaged. Where the resources that accrue from a region is taken to the center, and there's contestation about who gets what, then that undermines production. We have to get back to a situation where it was before. We had it post-independence, where if you produce, you earn your revenue, and you pay tax to the center. And so we need to tear down the power at the center, reduce the authority at the center. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the essence of restructuring the Nigerian economy.
Well, it's still a little befuddling and fuzzy to many people, listening to all of this conversation this morning. But Mr. Mabinori, you spoke about micro, small, and medium enterprises, and for me, that's one of the most exciting conversations to have, because micro, small, and medium enterprises are responsible for the most jobs, about 70%, if not more, employment that people get in the country. If they are unable to, operate as well or as productively and profitably as they should or desire to, what it translates to is job losses. The employment figures are going to increase, and we cannot do anything about the poverty figures. If you would make recommendations, where do we go from here? Now we are talking about the GDP figures falling in this third quarter. I don't know what is going to happen in the quarter ahead, given the same NBC's report about multidimensional poverty in various parts of the country. What should happen now if we're to improve these GDP figures?
Thank you for talking on this SME. It's actually a sector I'm very much interested in as an academician, because the informal sector anywhere in the world is the engine room of any nation. It is a sector that can contribute. In fact, SME cuts across all sectors of the economy. If you go to ICT, transport, there's no sector of the economy that you go that you won't see SMEs. And that is why most times we always say that the oil and gas is not a job elastic sector, because you rarely find huge SMEs around that area. The SME that you want to do, if you want to do anything small scale there, that's when we want to go to modular refinery and what have you. They call it illegal refinery, and they'll be destroyed or erected or what have you. So that means SME in that sector is not encouraged to a very large extent, except some other services around the sector. But if we come to non-oil sector of the economy, you will see SMEs spread across the nation or across the sectors. And that is why we call them the job providers. So a case where government provide what they call enabling environment for SMEs. So you might just take we have about 40 million Nigerians in SMEs right now, as we speak right now. So let's just imagine that government empowers them to paying taxes. So a case where out of this 40 million, let's even empower 10 million of them, each of them paying a tax of 1 million naira annually. So look at 1 million in 10 million places. That is huge revenue for government. So that's what we're saying, that over dependence on oil, we can divert from, that's what we talk about, diversification of the economy, restructuring and what have you. We can divert our attention from oil to an economy as small as the SMEs. If SMEs they have what they call enabling environment to thrive, we'll have a massive revenue from tax that we get from them. Even aside that, the employment that they will create. So imagine government creating additional 10 million employees, SME owners, and each of them employing 5 people. We have created 10 million jobs for these SMEs, and each of them have created additional 5 million jobs being created again. So by the time you look at it, you will realize that the economy will surely boom. A case where we're having 133 million Nigerians in poverty line it's what they call reserve army. If anything happens, you know that Nigerians are actually very resilient and easy to lead. This is enough to set any nation ablaze. Because a case where we have your youth, 65% of your youth of your population are below 35 years old, and you are having a whopping 63% poverty rate in the economy. It is alarming. And by the time the NBA, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, releases the Q4 GDP quarter statistics, we will realize that it will be worse than what we have right now, because we are moving towards the electionary period. Q4 and Q1, that is 2021 first quarter, we surely have something lower than this, because it is a period where there will be so much money in the economy where they will be doing nothing, because this is electionary period. We all know so many activities that revolve around election in Nigeria. So, well, that's what we can say to a very large extent. The design of Naira that CBN is doing will, to an extent, tame some of these activities, but not just for a short period of time. We're looking at the long run effect. What happens in the long run? Are you saying by 2027 again we want to do the election? Has to redesign another currency to also curb vote buying and some illegal activities coming on around the election. So there are more to this. There's more to this thing. That's why we want government to be more deliberate. And again, there should be an harmony between the fiscal sector and the monetary sector. We have seen that there is a huge. They're like pillars apart. The monetary sector and then the real sector. And when both of them are not together, it will be an issue. A case where the real sector, which is basically being led by the manufacturing sector, cannot conveniently source fund from the monetary sector in terms of going to a bank and say, okay, I need this fund. Cost of funding has increased. And a case where cost of funds are not available for manufacturing sector, we surely have what we have right now. Manufacturing sector is another huge job elastic sector. So a case where manufacturing sector is contrasting, other sectors are contrasting, we surely have what we have right now. So that's why we want government to be more deliberate in terms of their fiscal policies. Let's even monetary policy has tightened the most of the monetary policies tools. Okay. Then what do we have on the part of fiscal? Do we have a contractionary or expansionary policy?
Well,
now the economy is contrasting.
I'd say, my apologies, Mr. Mabinori. I'm pretty sure that, some authorities will understand what you're saying quite well, but I'd like you to drill down to those who may not understand all the economic jargons that you're speaking, pardon my English. But let's speak down. You've spoken about the SME sector that is well known and that is expected to be organized. How about the SME sector that is largely unknown in suburban Nigeria and rural areas that only eke a living for a day? Literally just sustenance living. They do business just for the day, earn a day's pay, and then the next day they continue the grind the same way. They don't work in a day, they don't eat. So how are they factored into all of these conversations that you're having with us?
As I said earlier, what we need is enabling environment for them to survive. Nigerians are very hardworking. Nigerians are very resilient. Nigerians are very smart and highly talented. So what we need is government creating environment. Look at what Nigerians have done in the music industry for themselves. Look at what they have done in the entertainment industry at large, that is the music, and the movie. So if they can on their own do this, imagine if they have support of government as the Nollywood, the Bollywood have, the Hollywood and then the Bollywood have support of government. So that is why I heard sometimes that one of the aspirants was saying that they will create the same Hollywood that we have in Nigeria. In case we can have that, we have a movie estate or a movie academy, or sorry, a village where you can go and shoot whatever movie you want to shoot. And these are sectors that will drive the economy in terms of growth, in terms of employment, and in terms of putting food on people's table. Because a case where people are hungry, a case where people cannot access food on a daily basis, we are aiming towards Bermuda Triangle economically. So a case where people cannot feed themselves, and we have about 80% of Nigerians eat on based on what they produce on a daily basis. So a case where they can't, the next meal is not guaranteed. That's a problem. That's why I'm saying government should be deliberate about this, and that's why 2023 election should be we all should be concerned, because we're talking about our future here. So before you cast your vote in the next election, you should look at, okay, what is this person promising? If you are saying you are moving from production to consumption, from consumption to production, how are you doing it? Show us the process, show us the way. So it's not just by rhetoric that we have been hearing over the time. Politicians have come, they've told us all manner of things, but what are you bringing to the table? What are you doing differently? But it is not a crime that Nigeria is a consuming nation. The crime there is that we are not producing what we are consuming. And after producing what we are consuming, then we should also talk about our consumption pattern by consuming what we are producing. Okay. There was a time, sometime, can I continue?
Just land on that point very quickly, because we're running out of time.
There was a time I was in South Africa, and a friend of mine that went to meet, that wanted to buy some designer cool shirts, and he said, no, don't go for this, go for those ones locally made here. And I said, why? He said, because here in Africa, in South Africa, you want to buy this. He was just telling me why, giving me reasons why I should consume what they have produced. And I eventually went for it. So we should have our own orientation to change, because some of us we depend so much on this foreign product. That's why you see my shoe. It's an Italian shoe. When you want to have a shoe that will also compete.
Well, don't worry. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a sing-song soon. After all, the governor of Anambra State has promised us that. But Mr. Chizia, in closing, what would be your recommendation for us as a people? Government, I mean, you've given all the recommendations. What would you recommend for the people, if you can do that in 20 seconds?
Well, for the people, it's time to make sure that you look at your expenditure pattern as a person and see what you can postpone. Certain things, certain non-essentials probably people have gone on when the times were good. Maybe it's time to look at them again, and then maybe make some substitutions where it's possible. But I think that the hardship is there, is knocking on our doors, and it's not something that will be solved today or tomorrow. So we need to get things right, make sure that we adopt policies and we are consistent in trying to get those policies implemented. Yes.
Unfortunately, some of those essential commodities, such as fuel, are only increasing in prices. As Alera said the other time, Merry Christmas, Nigeria. Yes. Boniface Chizia and Oladotun Mabinori, both economists. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Truly appreciate you. So we're back in a moment to take on the next conversation. Please stay with us. Okay, so here we go.
I'm just remembering how my partner introduced this when we were giving you the menu at the beginning of the program. Not O critical, O critical.
I mean,
O Critical Technologies Limited.
Well, whether or not that inspired it, you'll find out.
Well, O Critical Technologies is a technological company with a targeted inclination towards creating digitized solutions for African challenges, including but not limited to healthcare. Well, that all sounds like grammar. And all that comes after that sounds like grammar as well. But we don't have to wander for too long. We have the CEO and the co-founder of O Critical Technologies, Dr. David Oludara.
Yes, ma. Good morning,
And
ma.
his name is also informative.
His name is
Oludara.
His name is also critical.
And he's also Dara-ing.
Yes, ma.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, ma.
Good
morning,
to have
sir.
you with us.
I'm highly honored to be here, ma.
Because when we said O Critical, were you laughing with us?
The word O critical.
It is O critical.
It's actually O critical. Yes, ma.
Didn't I tell you?
You were right.
Oh, come on.
O critical. The matter is critical.
It's very critical.
So let's deal with
It's
it.
a very serious something, ma. Very serious something. Very serious something. You know, when woman go call him critical. But in Nigerian parlance, it's all critical.
Oh, critical.
Yes, ma'am. You know, I remembered when I was 11 years old, you know, my mom was ill. She has a farm. So she went to her farm, a cocoa farm. And, you know, when she came back, she was stooling and vomiting. And was very small. So I took her to my uncle because I was the only one around her. It was a very Herculean task. So getting there, I couldn't help get aid to move her to the hospital. So I went to go and tell my dad that mom was ill. So before I got back, she was dead. Oh, now, looking back in retrospect, you know, when they asked me, how is your mom? You know, I said, situation, critical, sir. Critical, sir. Critical. So, you know, secondary school, and you know, so when I got to by the grace of God, to the university, you know, I studied medicine, and you know, with the advancement in technology and all, looking back now in retrospect, what she died of was, we call it acute gastroenteritis, maybe from food poisoning or what have you. Now, she shouldn't have died.
Yes.
Primarily, maybe she died from hypovolemia, or maybe electrolyte derangement from excessive stooling or excessive vomiting from what she had been poisoned from. Now, if there was a mobile application in which you could just add it, you know, with tip on a finger, just press pam, and there's an ambulance to move her to the hospital. First, they might have given her IV fluids, maybe a liter or so, 2 bags or 2 pints, as the case may be, and she might be okay. I will correct the electrolytes. Now, Mopsy will still be around.
Is that what this is all about?
It was one of the inspirations. Inspiring it. So, Critical Technologies, we are a technological company. We use technology to create digitized products to solve the diverse and myriads of African problems.
Give me an example.
For instance, Critical Technologies, we have a platform, we have an app application. Critical. So it's a centralized, if we call ourselves a number one distress management application in Africa. You know, it ranges from, you know, medical to maybe transportation, or even to maybe security, as the case may be. For instance, the medical part. Maybe a patient needs an ambulance, or an elderly patient needs to be moved to the hospital, you know, and you need an ambulance. So on Ocritica, you can book an ambulance, and the ambulance will come and pick you right from where you are.
No, so
just to be clear,
O Critical is an app.
Exactly.
Yes, we have an application. Yes, sir.
So that's what the whole thing is about.
Yes, sir.
An app to help people access services.
Particularly emergency services.
Okay, so this is your website then?
Yes, sir.
Particularly medical services.
Yes, sir. But not limited to medical.
Okay, what other services can one access?
Other services, for instance, from ambulance services, laboratory services, you want to do investigations, still part of the medical. You want to see a doctor, that like telemedicine part, because COVID has disrupted the way we have known life to be. And we'll never...
We're getting too slow to telemedicine,
Yes.
so COVID came to speed things up.
Yes, sir. And we'll never remain the same. So, and it's good to be future, you know...
Okay, speak to us. This is your website, right?
Yes, yes.
So what are the things that, people find here?
Okay, part of what we have on our menu at on the Ocritica, from the I've mentioned the medical part. We also have...
just a second. What's the website so people can also get there and follow?
It's www.ocritica.com. Ocritica, .com.
Just to be clear, because Mr. Oluwadara is just Dara in here. O-critical is O-C, right?
Yeah, O-C-R-I.
Critical.
Yeah,
but
critical.
Just put an O.
Without apostrophe.
The letter O, without H, without apostrophe.
Yes, sir.
Ocritical.com.
Yes, sir.
That's what the website is about.
It's also, our application is also on Google Play Store. The iOS is being reviewed.
Okay.
So people can,
So speak to the services that you were trying to...
Okay, so the medical parts, from telemedicine, seeing a doctor, to geriatric care. I'm a Yoruba guy. Meaning, okay, when at the old age, there are some progressions, not necessarily disease as it were, but because of the use, wear and tear associated with growth, yes, sir. So elderly people are usually elderly, and the lower age people, the pediatrics and the geriatrics, so they are usually susceptible to infections, wear and tear and all. So part of our service is not critical, like the home care service. We have geriatric care. Maybe, for instance, you have an elderly woman at home. You need, a doctor to be seen at home. You need a nurse, home care nurse to be seeing her, a caregiver, someone to preparing a meal. It's part of our services at All Critical. Then maybe also part of, thank God for what our government is doing. We pray for more strength and more wisdom for them to do. Your car broke down. With All Critical, at the tip of the button, you can order for a towing vehicle to come and help you, move your vehicle from where you are to where you ought to be. Another one, I must not forget this, man. Everybody, may I sit down well, man, answer. Everybody is talking about jackpot. I'm sure almost everybody around you would have jackpot. Do you understand, President? Now, for instance, as a doctor, I'm an anesthetist by the grace of God. A lot of people are like, guy, you never jackpot. What did they do here? All critical technologies, people have been complaining about doctors' brain drain, also solves that particular part of the brain drain. For instance, for being a doctor, being a nurse, being the physiotherapist or whatever, dentist, it is not an easy task. And after graduating and all, of course, we are rendering service, we are meeting needs, but this thing is also very important to keep body and soul together, to be sane, to render safe healthcare service to the patient. So, on critical, it also solves the problem of the brain drain. For doctors who engage on a platform, they can also get passive income from also rendering service. I just needed to chip that in, man.
Okay, so do you have your app on App Store?
Yes, it is. It is on Google Play Store.
Only Android for now?
Yes, sir, for now. Okay. The iOS is being reviewed. Before mid-December, we should have...
Okay, and it's called O-Critical as well?
O-Critical, yes.
O-Critical,
yes,
okay. Yes, this is a business. It is not charity.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do you make your money?
Okay. I was sharing with somebody outside. I will make money. Greatness is too big for an individual to achieve. Even the creator of heaven and earth, when he wanted to make his best, his most innovative products called human beings, he said, let us make man in our own image and after our likeness. Meaning, for these great products, revolutionary products that is blessing Africa and to the ends of the earth, we have partners that we work with. And, pardon say this page, man, when they talk, say, we're person they work, now they chop. Now why they call them workshop, So we render service. And for us, it's more of, adding value. So for adding value, they appreciate us for just a token of, you know, rendering a service.
Those
Those who connect to your app.
Yeah, it's free for people that are, you know,
looking for the service.
Yes.
But those that get called upon to deliver the service are the ones who give you something.
Yes. So, you know, for instance, now you sell. So I beg your pardon, let me hold this, man. It's a very beautiful jug or mug, as the case may be. Now, you sell this on a platform.
Yeah.
Now, and sir, you want to buy it. So we have the platform. We provide a platform for you.
For me to advertise it.
Yes, ma'am. He buys from you. So, and you appreciate us for, wow, allowing you to meet the handsome.
I give you a commission.
Yes.
Okay, so that commission is a known agreed percentage.
Yes, sir.
Because it's not appreciated, it's commission.
Commission.
Full stop. So
No,
if I'm ill, for instance, and I call for the service of a doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
It is the doctor who will pay commission to you because he's duly registered.
Yes,
with O Critical.
Yes.
So you have some signed agreement on that.
Yeah.
On the Play Store now, I see two of your apps.
All right, sir.
There's O Critical. There's O Critical Responder.
Yes, sir.
Explain, please.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So the O Critical is the one for the, let me call it, consumer.
Okay.
Or the people that are trying to use the service, while the critical responder are
people who
the service providers for us.
Okay.
So it's like the same with Uber, the driver, and then the Okay. So if there are people now watching and want to subscribe, what's the process? They go to the app.
They go to the app. They follow the process, and they download. And it would they will log in, ask for their details, verify, and the stats. However, it is important to state here, even the Almighty God, in His own infinite wisdom and benevolence, in making man, He had the capacity of making the 8 billion people in the whole world at the same time. But He didn't do that. He gave us time to interact with the earth, time to, bring out our creativity, innovations, and profits. Now, there's what we call minimum viable products. So all of the modules are not, fully on board.
Okay.
But even Mark Zuckerberg even said that ideas don't come fully formed.
Okay,
but
so it's a gradual.
Yes, sir. Yes.
How do you sift off subscribers who are scammers?
Thank you very much, sir. For especially from the service provider point of view. Yeah, we have our various, know your customer kind of a thing, where we sift original people from scammers, as the case may be. For instance, for doctors, for nurses, for physiotherapists, for dentists and all, of course, for you to be certified, you have your license, you have your maybe the number, folio number. So we'll go through all this. Then also, because there is payments involved, we also get we have, they provide accounts. Of course, we don't, request for their BVN, but we have a gateway. We partner with one of the switching company that, it will verify their name and everything. So by that, and also, we also have in-house back-end people that also follow.
So you have a background checking system.
Thank you very much, sir.
That helps to ensure that people don't fall into the wrong hands.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you practicing medicine at all?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, to whom much is given, ma'am, much is expected. I'm a practicing doctor. I'm not just a doctor, I'm an anesthetist. I'm a critical care doctor.
No wonder it's critical.
Oh, critical. Oh, serious.
So critical. Everything is critical.
I'm a recording artist. I have 2 studio albums. I'm working on the 3rd, music videos. The name is Ludara Dave. I'm an author, by the grace of God. I have a book called Cashless Wealth, Timeless Wealth Creation from Zero Account Balance. I believe every Nigerian needs to read that book. If we read it and we start thinking that way, within 10 years, the developed world will come and say, guys, what do you want to do to be here? I'm serious. So I practice medicine. It's all much is given, much is expected. And all the glory to God. A man receives nothing except.
Where do you practice?
Well, I have some hospitals where I
Of
give,
course, anesthetists are all over the place.
yes, sir.
You get called to this hospital
yes, sir.
today, that clinic tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah.
But you know, the lesser is blessed of the greater. So the greater is here now, which is a critical something. Oh, critical something.
Critical. Oh, critical.
So, and we know we are vesting.
What so far? What's been the reception from your own constituency, the medical world?
Oh well, it's massive, sir. You know, it's massive because okay, by God's grace, I'm a doctor, but with the twists of an innovator kind of, because I ask questions. Of course, medicine is beautiful sound to open the mind, but it's more like 1 + 1 is 2. There's no 1 + 1 is 3 by any formula or something. Now, there are some problems, some challenges, some bottlenecks that I've observed from maybe the primary level of care, the secondary level of care, or the tertiary level of care that we have been able to solve with O-Critical. So, you know, when it was announced, I think we officially launched October 27th or 26th, if I'm not wrong.
It's a brand new thing.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma. So it's, you know, it was a massive, the reception was massive. Like, wow, we've been looking for this and we have come to stay and to, you know, serve them better and to the ends of the earth.
When will the iOS be ready?
By God's grace, ma, before by September, I mean, I beg your pardon, by December, it should be fully out. And by God's grace too, from December, you know, first week of December going forward, all the services will be top notch and, you know.
The people
So if you have iPhones, you can check in from the 10th of December, start checking in.
Yes, ma'am.
From the 10th of September,
December.
December,
2022.
before the end of the month,
yes, ma'am.
It should be up and running so that you can download the app and start using it.
Yes, but for the Android users, we already have it. But from
my partner already checked. In fact, he's on your website right now.
Yes, sir.
So if you have an Android, you can actually access them right now
Play Store
if you want to, if you require their services.
Yes,
so you can do healthcare, you can do
healthcare.
Medical emergency, fire emergency, crime,
there's a very
toll service, security, safety.
Yes, there's a very wonderful part of it. We call it panic. You know, maybe somebody is okay. For instance, a highly respected, you know, artist passed away recently. I think yesterday or something. You know. Yes, you know. So, you know, in that instance, for somebody who is on O-Critical. Now, there's a button called panic button. When you click on the panic button, it sends messages to your doctor, to your lawyer, to your, you know...
who would have been pre-programmed into the program.
Yes. So even if you are able to...
Interesting.
If you are able to press it, good. If you are not able to press it, within 15 seconds, it sends the message. Like, hello, help, I'm in a person is in a crisis, hello, help, I need a crisis. So they can hook an ambulance and the ambulance will come in real time.
O-Critical.
O-Critical something.
O-Critical.
O-Critical something.
Dr. David Oludara, CEO, co-founder, O-Critical Technologies.
Yes, ma'am.
O-Critical. So, imagine O-Critical, before you call O-Critical.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for staying with us.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sunrise will be right back with our lifestyle segment. See you in just a moment.
All right, so it's time for us to talk about your lifestyle, especially, yes.
Not ours?
Your lifestyle.
Okay.
I'm not talking about mine.
All right.
You know, I'm just cool. You know, I'm fine.
He's got hypertension. From this young guy he's making, he's got hypertension.
No, it's just high blood pressure. It's not hypertension yet.
What's the difference?
No, hypertension is the senior brother of high blood pressure.
Well, if it makes you happy, believe it. It's all about what's in your head.
Yeah, please, please. And it is under check, under control, please. Thank you very much.
I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm
you know
cool.
what I'm saying? So, yeah, even though the lifestyle is checking. Anyway, one of the seasons of life that makes this even more dire for people is the holiday season. You know, brings you a lot of joy.
You know, in America, Thursday was Thanksgiving. Yesterday, Black Friday. So the holiday season has started. It's in full swing already over there.
Okay. But that holiday in full swing can also wreak a lot of havoc on your health, especially your heart health. So one of the things that we've also come to realize that research shows that cholesterol levels spike the most during this time of the year.
Oh dear.
This time of the year.
What do we eat that makes that happen? Anyway,
we'll get to that.
We'll be asking the guests.
So let's just go into it. The conversation with Uko, our guest this morning, a nutritionist and dietitian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. And thank you, Alero.
So we understand, by the way, don't worry, you'll soon see the network soon. Research, you see the both of them.
We were on Maggie Kitchen together.
Okay, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
She was my executive producer.
Good. She didn't execute you. I think that's just okay. So, madam, from your studies, you've done this for quite a number of years. From your studies, observations, experiences, what is it that makes us vulnerable this time of the year, especially when it comes to eating?
Well, I mean, look, Christmas is a time of sharing, let's face it.
So is Ileya.
So you have spreads, you know, jollof rice, ayamashe stew. What have you, you know?
Ayamashe.
Yes, you know, bleached palm oil. You have many dishes spread out. And of course, if you're traveling to the east, of course, pounded yam, ofe nsala, afia efere, afang, what have you. And so we sometimes go a bit overboard.
Because it's in front of us.
Because it's there. And we think we have to eat it. And therefore, you know, we just throw caution to the wind and eat what we really don't need.
We will just put the caution in the pocket and then after some time.
Stuff that we don't even normally eat.
That's where my next question is, because it's a time that you want to try new things. You what's the word now? You go on tours, and I remember a colleague of mine. We went for this end of year event for one of these shipping companies many years ago, and so they put all kinds of things we'd never even seen before, much less tasted. And I had a culture all my life of sticking with what I know and experimenting very, very cautiously.
Yes.
My colleagues, okay, is this sweet? The other is this sweet? He just kept trying everything out. Needless to say, by Sunday evening, well, it was a Saturday night, a Sunday afternoon, they were already visiting the big boys' room. And Monday, I don't think they were able to come to work. So,
well,
guide us, you know, because, I mean, always eating, you know, there's that thing that people say about, can you just be eating only rice all the time? You want to try new things occasionally. What's the guide? Because we have to try these new things.
You know, it's amazing what urbanization has done to us. We all live in the city, and we're all looking for convenience, so to speak. So the carbs obviously are convenient. The pastas, the rice, you know, those ones don't take time. Of course, if you want to venture into pounded yam, you know what that entails.
It's even shorter. The time has been reduced.
Well, not pounded.
Yes.
Of course, yes, you can use your food processor to pound yam. I get that. But the point is that we tend to, around those times, look at it, office parties are happening around that end of the year. You're having food festivals happening around, this time of the year. Then, of course, you now crown that with what happens on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, and all of that.
Carbs.
carbs.
Carbs incorporated.
A lot of meats as well are there. Of course, we're frying a lot. The chin-chins and the cakes are going, you know, jamming and all of that. Now, the point is to be conscious. And it's not just around the Christmas, because, you know, this season accumulates all the bad habits. You know, you have...
Including the ones that you have been chaining down.
Yes. So it's not...
release them.
If the problem were just the Christmas and festive season, yes, maybe 2 weeks into January, you would have burnt everything. But it's been an accumulation of bad habits, you know, in quotes, and the fact that we're not just conscious about the kind of lifestyle we should be leading. Like I said, with urbanization, if you live in Lagos, we all live in Lagos, it's added problem. You are seated all of the time, certainly for adults, either in your car, or when you get, or in the office, or in the shop. We are most of the time seated.
At home,
even when you want to take a walk.
Yeah.
You're thinking security, you're thinking this, unless you go to the gym. And if you walk in Lagos, you live on the mainland, you walk on the island, I don't know how much time you have to go to the gym. So all of these are accumulating. Now, guess what? You go home and Madame has prepared nice Edika Ikong soup with pounded yam.
A table spread
before you.
Oh, God.
In the presence of your family.
This is something like 8 p.m. if you manage to have beat traffic to get home at 8 p.m. And you eat that and you repeat it, you know, that's where the problem starts. So by the time you get to Christmas, the damage is done. I mean, look at it. For most people, by the time you finish eating that pounded yam and edikanikong,
it's time to sleep.
Your television remote is in one hand.
And you are nodding.
After some time, the TV starts to look at you.
Yes.
That's what happens. So that's, you know, that you have accumulated, and then you now come to the festive season, it can only get worse. So what should we be eating? I think it's just that consciousness.
We'll come to what we need to do.
Yes.
Help us also, because, I mean, you've spoken to the conditions that will build up to, and we don't even know. What are the implications of those bad habits that you talked about?
Yes.
What are the health implications? I ask that question for this particular reason. We've had an exercise, a fitness person here once. We've had a heart health doctor. We've had skin care dermatologist here. We had a dental care person here. And all of them, every single one of them tells us to pay attention to what we eat.
Absolutely.
So what are the things that we create, the problems we create simply by bad habits?
You know, what I see is that we have a lot of information and we have access to those information. And that's talking about food and nutrition. Possibly my parents didn't have, but you and I have our phones and we have the information there. But are we really looking at what we have and implementing them? Sometimes it's about total lack of understanding of nutrition and the impact it plays on our body in terms of preventive health. Because these things you spoke about, your teeth, your skin, your heart, and kidney, everything, a lot revolves around food and what we eat. But again, like I said, it is about making that conscious effort. Yes, we're told from primary school, secondary school, we talked about balanced diet. I mean, really, if we just stick to that simple balanced diet, I think our lives will not remain.
The pocket is not even balanced for now. The bank account is not even balanced right now.
So you can't afford to balance your food.
No, you can't. You can. You know, look, I know the problem, of course, with the wallets getting very thin.
Exactly.
People are filling up on carbohydrates. Carbohydrates fill you fast.
Yeah.
When you then go towards vegetables and fruit, which is what nutrition will tell you to do.
You have to eat like 5 times a day.
Yes. Meats, the proteins as well, fill you up, but the proteins are not cheaper. But the point is, if you then think of the reverse, which is the bill in the hospital, trust me, you will adjust your pocket.
For 1 kilo of meat now is about 3,000 naira. One small fish is about 2,000 naira.
Yeah.
So if I want to eat just for the sake of filling my stomach,
it's cheaper.
I'll probably just, only rice, I do for many rice, 200 naira.
I know, but you see,
a bunch of vegetables is now 1,000 naira.
Yeah.
A bunch.
But you know,
of F4.
And you only eat it maybe once or twice.
F4.
But you know, we can work around some of those things. I have a home garden, for instance. We don't have to buy everything. I know a lot of us live in a concrete world where we don't even have the space. But trust me, you can if you want to. Whatever happened to your planters? You can pot a lot of vegetables. There are many vegetables I don't buy anymore because I've planted around the house. So you don't have to buy everything. Now, coming to animal protein, you know this shower fish? If you blend it, I know that Nigerians, we like to chew.
Yes.
We must chew something.
Yes.
I know. But
in fact, that's the status.
But how much is shower now? Shower used to be 100 naira each.
I know.
No, wait, before she even goes, you know, I mean, the meat. I mean, can't believe she's just giving me two small meat.
Yeah, they will be like Maggie Cube.
But you know, as adults, you don't need that meat. You don't need that much. It's actually the children in the family that need the meat. But guess what? Madam will say, because it's Oga that brought money for cooking,
the choice
I must put, you know, all of them should be, or the obstructions.
Yes.
The obstructions should, no. You don't actually need that much protein as you grow older.
As you said, it is filling.
We
and
know.
Then, you know, you mothers, you denied us when we were younger.
So when you
now
that you are master, that you are daddy, you will eat it.
You want to demonstrate that in the interest of peace?
The lap of the chicken is for you.
You know,
the gizzard is for you.
How can madam give the father of the house the head of chicken or the legs?
Okay, you know, we're talking carbohydrates. The proteins are for the kids. For adults, me and you, for that swallow, this is about the size you need per meal.
Is that the size of the meat you're talking about?
No, your swallow.
Your pounded
because
yam.
Your pounded yam. That's all you need. I'm seeing the shock on your face, but that's all you need per meal. The rest, vegetables, your vegetable soup, your dikankong soup. Guess what? Because like I said, most of the time we are sedentary.
Director, please do me a favor. Can you zoom in on her hand?
That's all you need.
So that's the size of amala.
The swallow, yes, that's
or eba, or pounded yam.
Yes, this is about what you need.
This
per meal,
size?
yes.
Your body doesn't need more than that.
The body doesn't need, because that's not the only meal you'll have. You're going to have your breakfast, you're going to have lunch or dinner.
Hey, I'm smelling trouble in some households today.
I know.
Like, so I'm just trying to play a picture in my head. So, madam is watching this program now.
They say this is all you need.
So, and daddy is not at home.
Daddy of this size.
So, daddy, to now serve someone that yesterday afternoon or yesterday that you served him garciously.
Yes.
You know, garciously. And now you now bring home
tennis ball size.
Yes.
The man will ask you, say, come, the money not due.
No, you know what? Look, I mean, of course, maybe when you're starting off from the size of my head to this.
No, just say that
gradually.
Of FIFA football club.
Yes. Gradually. You know, you now come to maybe 3 of these, then 2. Trust me, after some time, your stomach adjusts.
Yes.
Your stomach
my
does
own
adjust.
stomach has even adjusted.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I want to eat and they serve me food, the mere size of the food intimidates me.
Absolutely.
So, and everybody in the house knows I'm always talking about vegetable. The only problem is that the obstructions are...
The obstructions.
Yeah, usually very obstruct.
Yes.
The animals.
But you know...
No, the obstruction, please.
You
she
know,
doesn't like the word animal.
Even the obstruction, you have to be careful there. You know, as you get older, of course, you're told, you know, lay off red meats because of the potential for cholesterol link and all of that. So you're told to go towards fish and the rest of them. Even when you eat beef, you advise if you see those, visible fat, trim it off. Fat is tasty. Don't get me wrong. Fat is what makes food tasty.
Can you eat suya without fat?
Can you imagine?
But you have to trim a lot of those fat. Not that there won't be fat.
Some people talk about what you call lean meat.
Yes. Which means that you hardly have fat in it.
Please define lean meat.
Lean meat is meat that a lot of the fat has been taken out. And that's why things like chicken breast is recommended for those people who don't want to eat meats that contain that much fat.
How about the drumsticks?
The drumstick, remove the
skin.
But again, this is...
As you said, that is the sweet tea.
The fatty bit is the tasty bit. But nobody says don't eat it at all. All we're saying is that... Moderation.
Okay.
Moderation. Okay. And if the moderation is the lifestyle, then there's hardly any food that should be off limit.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I take ice cream from time to time. I take chocolate from time to time. Puff-puff.
I take chocolate all the time.
But puff-puff, I will not go to Owambe party today and jump from one Owambe party to the other eating puff-puff at each party. No. That's where the problem comes from.
Puff-puff is tasty.
I know.
No, it depends on who is making it. Okay, so now, you essentially what you're saying to us now is, if you are already used to this moderation,
yes,
it's a natural habit that you carry it into the holidays.
Absolutely. It becomes a lifestyle.
Yes.
Now, one other issue that may not be on our list today is there are those who may have allergies, but they don't know that they have the allergies.
True.
Now they've been cautious about the things that they eat until now. So there are two categories of these people. One, a set of people that know that they have allergies, and mommy or daddy or the children at home have been careful to help the parents manage excuse me, the allergies. Now they have to travel home. Now, because of this allergy, they can't eat certain things. Now, when you now get home, you say you don't want to eat this thing because you have allergy. And you tell them that you don't want to eat, they say,
Tell grandma.
We know. So because
your mommy has told
we
you
don't
that.
have money, they are not reckoning with us again. How does the person navigate?
Usually, if for instance, you're allergic to seafood.
I'm not, thankfully.
And you're from my part of the country, and fisherman soup has been offered.
Jesus.
You simply don't, because you know how much this would cost.
Yeah.
And then you can ask grandma, Mama, any other soup day? Do you have any other soup at home? Because when I eat fish or shrimp,
my body.
They understand. Once you say, Mama, any other soup day, she will understand that.
She should understand.
She should understand that it's just that soup.
That this particular soup.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I mean, it's just understanding how your body relates or reacts to food. It's the same thing when you go to a fast food restaurant. You should know what to pick. If you go to a buffet, you should know what to pick. I mean, but I mean, sometimes when I see Nigerian plates in buffets, it's height. Because it looks as if of the 20 things, it must be on my plate. So you'll be seeing rice and eba and egusi. The spaghetti is dripping from the side of the plate.
No, because as she was talking,
you can see the picture.
The picture was in my mind, and I was saying, "Oh my God!"
And sometimes
dessert, kill us
sometimes dessert is on that same plate. For those that don't even know how buffets work, they don't know you can go twice. So they will go from the bread, pepper soup, spaghetti, eba, edikaikong, egusi soup. Everything is on one plate. And like I said, the spaghetti then drips down the edge. But look, the food is there. You don't
have to eat everything.
You can have 2, 3 helpings, but pick what is good for you.
Okay. How do people know their allergies?
It's not something you can know until you've tried it.
Oh, wow.
And for some, I mean, I have a niece, she still does not know what the trigger is. Sometimes it's stress. Sometimes it's not food.
Yeah.
There are different things, you know, that causes mouth swelling, eye swelling, and all of
Sneezing.
that. Sneezing, and yes. Sometimes it's dust, you know.
Yeah.
But again, the doctors are in a better position, you know. But for food, you only have to have tried it once. Milk is always a culprit. Nuts, like groundnut, is always a
Suspect,
culprit.
yeah.
Shrimp is always another culprit. When you're talking allergy, most of us are allergic to beans, by the way.
Oh, I'm not. That's why I'm so tall.
That's people have flatulence with beans. It's some form of allergy.
I have a password to that one. Once I've had my beans, I take tea without milk.
Okay, good
My
for
life.
you.
Now,
Good for you.
let's talk about fruits.
Yes.
I have noticed that more and more children don't want to take fruits. When I was younger,
vegetables
it was
sometimes.
vegetables. You didn't even come near many of us with vegetables because we're not even going to listen to you.
Yeah.
No matter how it was cooked, no matter what you said, I'm not touching this black soup, this thing that has all these black leaves. No, thank you. But now, I don't know if children are eating vegetables, but I know that they're not eating fruits.
Well, with fruits, I mean, of course, it's best to eat fruits whole. I see a lot of juicing. I see a lot of smoothing. And I said the best way to eat fruit is to eat it whole.
With the fibers and
With the fiber and everything. You know, by the time you're juicing, you've removed some goodness from the fruit.
But sometimes when you juice whole.
You blend.
Yes, you know, but
Well,
that maybe that's a smoothie.
some of the chaff is coming off.
Yes.
But some of it is also in your drink.
Some, but the ideal thing is to eat the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Now, for children that don't like fruit, of course, we might just need to, you know, come back to the juicing bit. But if we blend, say, for instance, mango, blend the pulp whole and put it in popsicle, put this in there, make it look like ice cream, they'll consume it. It's about understanding children because they like to play a bit. So you give those foods they're not interested in, you make sure that there's something to play around. And that
make it exciting
they'll
for them.
consume it.
Okay. Now, as people go towards the Yuletide season, planning their meals and holidays and all, I know we've spoken quite a lot, but what are those things you would recommend that people begin now to watch out for as they prepare for the holidays?
I think, first of all, by now, or certainly the first week of December, you should know what you're going to be cooking if you're the one entertaining.
Okay.
But I know many people have since dropped off that bit of entertainment from their schedule. They're just waiting to
go somewhere.
To
be entertained.
To be entertained. So if you're the one entertaining, I hear tomato is climbing up, I hear pepper is climbing up, I hear onion is climbing
untouchable.
up. So if you can buy, of course, if you're going to need to make some jollof rice, boil your tomato, pepper, and that, blend and freeze now. Any other thing, really, that can keep, that you should buy. But the important thing is, what are you preparing? What are you cooking? Who are you entertaining for? You know, who will be coming? You know, if it's family, of course, you know people. So you're certain about what you're going to cook. And then start now by, one thing you should not try is to be making brand new dishes on Christmas Day. So if you need to practice now that recipe, you like the recipe so much, practice it now. Christmas Eve is not the time to do catering practical. No, it's not.
So you don't put everything in the dustbin.
Exactly. Exactly. So practice that dish now. But I think we can move away from jollof rice, fried rice, and do some other things. There are many, many Nigerian dishes out there.
Yes, I know about that, your book. We're going to talk about it the next time. Because I remember that when I was growing up, we only had rice 3 times in the year.
Yeah.
Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and Easter.
Easter.
Yeah.
Easter Sunday.
The only other time we eat it is when they serve us during the layer. Other than that, it's just those 3 days. I don't remember what we ate.
Rice is now a staple in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Unlike
That's why we're grateful that Immorta is coming on stream next month.
Okay. Oh, great. Anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. But so, how do we stave off for those who are vulnerable to weight gain? How do they stave off?
It's about calorie deficit. That's what you talk about with putting on weight or putting off weight. I know some people already are on a diet now, hoping to drop 2-3 kilos because they know they are going to add 2-3 kilos during Christmas. And hopefully, first 2 weeks of January, they'll drop off what they've added for Christmas. You know, it's the last thing you want to do to your body is this yo-yo business with weights. So what to say is that you know that if you eat a big bowl of rice and you don't move, it will stay. So what we're talking about is portion control. Have as many variety as you want because that's what Christmas is about. But control your portion. Control your portion. You know, it's as simple as that. Don't deny yourself because food is functional, but it's pleasurable as well. Yes. So I don't want to be walking around and checking that jollof rice. How many calories? No. Okay. That won't be life.
Is there a way to cut down the calories by maybe adding more vegetable into?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, for me, most times I have carrot, cabbage cut into very tiny bits, you know, in the fridge. Rice. And so I stir fry and add to my little portion of rice, half cup of rice. I mean, somebody's screaming now, she's eating half cup of rice. Yes, you know, but I load it with vegetable. You enjoy your rice, but more importantly, you know that you're not piling on too much calories.
I've gone to
So it's all about eating responsibly.
Absolutely.
Eat responsibly the same way you drink responsibly.
Yes.
I went into one restaurant and the vegetable they gave me was more filling than the swallow itself.
Yes.
Anyway.
That's the way it should be.
But we'll come back. I know you, as a presenter on a cooking program, what else do you expect you to say? But we're going to have you back again, you know, in a few weeks from now, because we shouldn't forget this lesson in a hurry. Most people just forget once the program is over. Uko, nutritionist.
Uko, by the way, has written a book.
Oh, I told you. We're going to talk about that book the next time she comes here.
Okay.
Nutritionist and dietitian. By the way, what's the title of the book?
It's Memories on a Platter.
Memories on a Platter, yes. Meals are very, very memorable. Thank you again.
Thank you for having
Nigerian meals.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're back after now to talk about, that's the
home
stretch.
Yes.
And this one is going to be interesting. Stay with us. Okay, then.
Yes, you guessed right. That was our artist of the week, and he's a gospel musician. Hails from Ilesha in Osun State, a self-taught keyboardist who started composing songs at a very tender age.
Ulesha. Ulesha.
He blends various genres of music like akpala, high life, hip hop, bubuesha.
There's one he didn't.
He used to bubuesha.
He still does. There's one he didn't talk about. You know the Ifa music, the way they, you know, the kind of Ogunde music.
Yes,
he
yes.
put it in music.
Like Ifa chant.
Yeah. The gospel.
Anyway, I'd like to welcome PSA Omoba.
Yeah, good
morning.
Thank
you for joining us. Yes, so you said you mixed some chant?
Yes, Eyo chant, Ifa chant into gospel.
Eyo.
Yeah.
Now let me think.
Oh, you were trying to remember it?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, well, that's it. That's it. That's the one. So, tell us, How did you arrive at this
concoction music?
Concoction.
Yeah, that's the right word. Concoction.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, I think to the glory of God, from when I was very young, I like to do things differently. You know, anything, you know, my mates are doing, I want to do something different. And thank God my mother is a very strong believer, and I love music since when I was very young. It's a music family, so at least we listen to different sorts of music, any music, including secular, Ebenezer Obey, Sonny, and so. But I think from that young age, I began to think of how can I make, you know, things different. Even though I'm a strong Christian, I still listen to Ogunde. Even when we watch film on, you know, watch all these Arelu and all these films, then theater, you know, I still listen to those. I still enjoy those music. I might not listen to the lyrics, but I like something traditional. And I just begin to think, I think we can win these people for Christ as well. We can sing in their way, in the language they understand, including Fuji. You know, I used to do Fuji as well. I'm the first gospel artist to sing Fuji to the glory of God. Gospel, even though people are like, what's wrong with this guy? But thank God we have people singing Akpala too as well.
Before Dekunle Fuji came along.
Yes.
What is interesting, Lero, is that this thing that he's talking about, when I was in some church in the back end of Oyo State, I thought about Gospel Fuji in the 80s. I thought about it. And the people around me were like, you want to sing devil music? Church.
What is called devil music?
As if God didn't create all music. But because I was a rookie Christian and they were the Jim. You know, I said, well, they say it's not holy. And then I came to Lagos and I was hearing Fuji music. I said, come on.
Fuji gospel.
Fuji gospel, Fuji music. I was like, come on. Anyway,
Gospel, Fuji,
so
Fuji gospel.
I mean, when you started, when did you go professional? How many years ago now?
It's going to like over 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, about
Really?
35 years, yes.
Wow.
35 years in
I
gospel
left the shore of Nigeria going to 18 years now. So and before then I've been like professional, been singing professional.
So you don't live
here?
No.
No,
I live in the
this
UK.
one,
Jackpad.
A long time ago.
Oh, yeah, Jadpa. Which one is it?
No, we just
Okay, you have Jadpa.
Not really. We just go there to spread the gospel to all part of the world.
Man, we hear that. Even the sarcasm on your face tells it all. Now, talk to us about something. Yeah. You started by telling us, and I'm glad that Alero asked you that first, you know, how you put, all kinds of angles into gospel music. There is usually that pushback from people who want things to just be the way they were. Don't ruffle the boats and all of that. How do you recreate? How are you creative and what's the word now? Unconventional, possibly even what's the word what's the word now, Lera? When you are confrontational, sort of controversial. That's the word. And at the same time, creative. Controversial, creative, adding new things into music that the system is not used to. How do we do that in a way that you still stay along the straight and narrow? I'm asking that because it's something that you have done, and there are many people who want to do it now, and they are facing backlashes, and it is very discouraging to them.
Yeah, actually, it's not something easy, especially back then. Thank God now we do Afro. Look at my music you just played. It's like in between Afro and salsa music and traditional. So it's not. You have to be very determined. That's number one. If you know what you do, you have to know who you are, know what you want to do, and think differently. If you don't think differently, you won't make meaning to the world. Because like as you said at the beginning, that if you're not determined and know who you are, because I believe everybody has got his own calling. That is my own calling. And like I say, I have many people, many artists I've mentored all over the world.
You tell us about them.
Sir? Yeah.
You will tell us about them.
I will.
Okay, but I'm asking again that same question, perhaps this way, this different way. In adding these elements, it is only natural for the pushback to come. From what angles did you get this pushback most?
Yeah. Actually, I first had problem in my church. It was a battle.
Charity begins at home.
Because basically when I started, I was still a typical CAC man when I started. You know, and even the elders in the church have to sit me down. And we had...
talking to.
Auntie said, yeah, they have to sit me down. They not even ask me to probably maybe have to stay a bit from the choir, you know. But after some time, but one thing about me is that I am very useful in the choir. You know, when you are like, we can't do without this guy. You understand? That's the only thing that really saved me then. You know, even though they call me into the meeting, into the choir and tell me, what are you doing? This is gospel. This is, I mean, you say you are singing gospel. And at the end of the day, look at the kind of music you are trying to... I try to explain to them that what do they understand by gospel music? Even if you sing I Life, is it Jesus that started the I Life music? Thank God he's the one who gave us those ideas. Anything that comes, you know, any good idea is from above. That's what I used to tell them. I said, but let me tell you, the I Life they've been singing I Life for a very long time, and the root of I Life is not really gospel. They sing about women. They sing about maybe yabis, you understand? So how do you want to define high life? So it is. And to the glory of God, that Ifa kind of music, one of the people that sell my cassette then, you know, called me. That there's one day that they are playing my music, that one Ifa man came into their shop and bought the music, and the man said he wanted to meet me. They called me, look for my number to call me that. One day, one Ifa man with Juju entered into their shop. That day I just fell on the floor and I began to praise God. Now if it is only that, because of that man only, that I recorded that track, I think I'm fulfilled in life. And that is just the vision. There's no way you won't be, you know, I'm not blaming our elders or our church. They have their own doctrine. I think it is, now we have the generation Z now. So they are now different from our own, you understand? They are taking it to the next level.
Now, they are doing what you did.
Exactly.
Essentially. Adding, because there's one artist we've hosted before, hopefully we'll host him one more time whenever he's in town, who said, look, the reason I'm into music is because there is no Christian music in parties. And so you wanted to change that paradigm.
Sure.
No pop music in parties.
I've been working on that. I've recorded, my new music is Afrobeat.
Okay.
So
in
I'm
fact,
getting into it.
That video that was played, I was just shaking my head as you were.
Yeah.
In fact, the way you were even dressed.
Exactly.
Is not gospel. I mean, look at that. Look at this. I mean, that's Jay-Z.
Exactly.
Jay-Z and Kanye West.
Okay. It's a delicate balance you're trying to draw here.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Now, because on the one hand, you are playing music. Now, you even take the music into terrains that are quote-unquote extreme for some people, just as you said earlier. On the other hand is the content of the music.
Exactly.
Which makes it very, very different.
There's a thin line, to be honest. The line between the gospel and the world is so thin.
Exactly.
I know that's where you are going.
Exactly.
But like you said when you just spoke now, that lyric, that word of God in you have to be very sound. If care is not taken, I understand you're going to fall to the other side. That's why not just singing that word, but you have to know who you are in the Lord. You understand? Because like I said, like my Fuji music now has to do with the Agberos. I think you probably must have listened to some that will sing with a cracked voice. At the end of the day, I'm not an Agbero man.
Area boy.
Do you understand? But thank God, anytime, I remember when I come to Lagos and I'm like passing by and maybe towards Oshodi. When they play my music, I see them most of the time. I see this Agbero people, dancing. That is it. At a point, I know they will sit down and listen to. They will get the tape, listen to it, and they begin to listen to some words in. Ours is just to just pray. We've tried what the Lord has given to us as a gift.
But you said something now, which is the word of God in you has to be sound.
Exactly.
Many people, many of these music artists came from the church. A good number of them, Houstons of this world, and several of them came from the church.
Yeah.
Got into the world, just as you said. They, quote unquote, fell by the wayside.
Exactly.
There are those who started gospel, decided to go secular,
Exactly.
and went secular. You know.
Go critical.
So, digging the roots in the message, advise us and the viewer right now on how to do that sustainably so they don't get lost in the fame, the fortunes that come to them as a result of the music.
Like I said earlier, you have to really know who you are in the Lord. I'm not just saying, yeah, I'm a Christian. You have to really sound in the Word of God, because that is our root. That is our lifeline. When you have the Word of the Word of God in you, that will be like a check and balance for you. That's our yardstick. And we allow the Holy Spirit itself to dwell in us, no matter how. Even when you are writing the song, you need the power of the Holy Ghost to lead you through, to write those lyrics. And for you to be careful not to fall within that thin line, you need God, and you have to be very prayerful and determined. If you're not determined, at the end of the day, somebody will come. I remember when I started doing all this, my stuff, some secular artists came. Even there's a promoter that came that said he's going to, collaborate with a very popular gospel Fuji artist. If I mention the name, we will know the name of the Fuji artist. But I said no. And I know how much they're going to give me. If you talk about money, I know I'm really going to make money. But because I know who you are, and who I am rather, and the word of God that is in me, and I know no matter how I go home, I pray. Even when those challenges come, there are times even the music, it's not that my music just bam.
So you can't tell anybody, because the poverty level in the days that you're talking about is different from now.
Exactly.
So how does the person know that this is not a breakthrough from God?
Exactly. You say that again, sir.
How does this person that is listening to you now know that this opportunity that you rejected is not a blessing from God? God brought miracle.
I said something. I said, God, the word of God should be our standard, should be our yardstick. That is the most important thing. Any breakthrough that you say you want to give me and it's not aligned with the word of God, how can a secular artist that is singing of shake your bum bum is as clean as that? Is the yardstick. That is the check and balance for any Christian. I don't need any prophet to tell me.
Can the person not tell you, don't worry, I will convert him? Collect the money and not use it to convert.
So is it me that will convert? Is it not God that convert?
Now, come over. Let me take you right back to the beginning.
Okay, man.
How did you get into music?
I'm a church boy, like I said. It was.
So you were in the
church.
choir from when you were little?
Yes, and even before I got into the choir, I so much love musical instruments. Maybe you still remember this small Casio? I saved that small one. I saved my whole life to buy that, that Casio. The whole life, I don't know how long it takes me to get that Casio. So I'm interested in musical instruments from the beginning. And I tried to buy that Casio. I'm a self-taught keyboardist, to the glory of God. If I play piano now, you won't believe that maybe I have a teacher that taught me how to play the piano.
Can you read music now?
Yeah, when I got to London, I studied music.
Okay.
I did musicianship
in
one of the college. I see that opportunity. It was even, thank God for a friend that said, "You guy, no, nobody will know about." He pushed me, and that you need just have the certificate with you, and to the glory of God, I have it now. Yeah.
So, what should we expect from PSA Omoba?
Two things. I know music evolve. Like I think we said the other time. Now in the life of Afrobeat, because we can't leave our children behind, we can't leave the Generation Z behind. That is why the music you just played, you can see the reflection of, like, my music is metamorphosing. Despite, I still have the real African praise. That one, I can't just, move away from that. But I still want to see, like, have another, like, going to Afrobeat so that we have the young generation to flow with. I just recorded a new music now. I'm working towards the video to the glory of an Afrobeat. So that one is there. Then I have a full album as well that I'm about to finish. Then thirdly, I'm working towards, coming back to Nigeria frequently to organize concerts and, in some cities so that at least you have more of me this time around. So
is there any concert planned for this trip?
Huh?
Any concert planned for this trip?
No, I just, I have some few ministration. It's one of the purpose of coming. I have about 3-4 ministration. I'm done with the ministration. I just want to relax now and move back.
You haven't been to Nigeria in about 18 years?
Going to 18 years.
Going to 18 years.
Yes.
That's a long time not to come home.
Have you tried suya since you came back? Because the suya of the days of yore are different from today.
I know, I tried one, but I was so disappointed because, you know why? They call it ishon. What do they call it in English?
The muscle.
That was the one the guy just bought. asked me to struggle. I said, God, why now? After all these years, you asked me to be pulling ishon, but I won't give up. I'm still gonna, it's one of the things I want to eat. All this food I've not been eating for a very long time. So, I still want to try that suya one more time. I know I'm going to get it this time.
What are some of those things that could have come like a culture shock to you after 18 years at home?
When I arrived, to be honest, I don't know, maybe because I'm a typical, even though I'm back there.
They're very at home.
Exactly, that African touch is, you even laugh at me there. You, this guy, you Igbo for how long now? You are still, I said, no, look, that African touch.
Give me my amala.
Of course. You go to amala is very expensive there, but we still go to Buka. We still prepare our home and we eat it. So my African touch is still there, And like when I was traveling to pick my daughter from school a few days ago, I still branched by the roadside and got some ekpa, granite. And I said when I get home, I look for some good gari.
I understand that there's somewhere you all go to buy agege bread.
Yeah, in London.
Yes.
Yeah, we have somebody who produces agege bread and distribute it. It's so light.
With suya.
Yeah, we have suya, but the suya there is like oyiboish suya. So it's not like.
It's not Obalende suya.
Agege bread.
But yeah, there's one Obalende suya. But they try.
I hear that's folded up.
That's the best suya we have there. But it's not like the suya we eat here, to be honest.
No, that one has no Oyinbo. The one in Nigeria has no Oyinbo touch at all. It's FFF, fresh from fire.
Agege bread. According to my Igbo friends, agege.
Well, we have to give it to you and to your colleagues who are doing this human job and helping to keep the flag flying. All we're here for is to support you and encourage and ensure that you keep the flag flying. And please continue to make Nigeria proud.
Thank you very much.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you. Before I go, I just want to say thank you to all my fans here in Nigeria. I don't call them fans, I call them family. Here in Nigeria, in Africa, and all over the world, and all presenters, because anywhere you talk about my name, I have to say the journalists have really helped me. Even when I was back home then. Thank God for what I've produced because they love my music, and someone will call me and say, I want to know this man. And if not for them and God, I won't be where I am today. I've got many awards nationally, internationally, all are dedicated to God and to all the journalists that has really helped me to be where I am today. Thank you very much.
Great. PSA Omoba, gospel musician who lives in the UK. He just popped in to pay us a visit. Thank you very much for coming. Yes, Ayo, just before we go.
Yes, there's that occurrence. I mean, we're talking about music now. That thing that we should have mentioned at the beginning, but just didn't feel it was a good thing to start a program like this with the demise of Samuel Pozo. This happened yesterday. He was said to have slumped and died, but there were concerns about his health before he passed. Commiserations to the family, especially to his wife, Ozzy, and to everyone who he has influenced in his lifetime.
God rest his soul.
Amen.
Sadly, that's the note on which we're going to have to end Sunrise today. We thank you very much for spending the last 3 hours odd with us. We wish you a happy weekend and see you next month.
Ah, that's true. See you next month. I'm Ayo Makide. Have a wonderful rest of your day.